Good afternoon, everybody. This is JDC, and I am speaking to you directly from Champions for Life podcast. And if you're on my YouTube channel, I'm speaking to you to the YouTube channel here, JDC Success Coaching. Today's segment is Winning Wednesday. And when we talk about Winning Wednesday, we're talking about strategies that help you to win. In what areas? Financial, relationship, parenting, right? Spouse things, right? Issues like that. Including, right, in relationships with your business and with your team and all of that. Basically, a holistic approach to your life. So, I want to talk to you today about winning as a person in communication with your spouse or your children so you can have effective communication, right? So I want to get started and share with you that there are 3 levels of communication, all right? And in these 3 levels, most times people get it confused, okay? How do they get it confused? Well, very simple. For example, if you're a parent, you usually tend to talk like a parent, especially if your kids are small, right? Children that are below adolescence, right? Or even further. I've seen a lot of parents talk to an adult as if they were a parent themselves, and they're not even. So we get it twisted. Now, one of the worst things I've seen is an adult talking to another adult as if they were a child, right? And so what we want to do is we want to make sure that this is not happening to you. So let's become clear on what those communication strategies are, okay? So if you're an adult and you're engaging in a conversation with an adult, you don't want to speak to them like a child, all right? You want to speak to them like an adult. So we want to go here to the level of adult, all right? Children speak to each other like children. It makes sense, right? And parents speak to each other like parents. So if you're having a conversation between an adult and a parent, right, you're going to miss what you're saying. You're going to miss the essence of what you're trying to say. Next time that you are having a conversation, for example, with your children, I've seen this happen too, right? Where a parent will speak to their child as if they were an adult. No, right? Faulty thinking right there. So if you're a parent and you're speaking to a child as an adult, you have to remember that they don't comprehend adult things, even when they're in their 20s. They just really don't get it, right? They may think they get it, but we know that they don't get it. So what is the best thing for you to do? You know, you need to go and understand that you're speaking to a child and change your conversation mode to a child, from a parent to a child. Therefore, you can relate with your child in a different way, and the child can relate to you in a way that's going to help them to grow, to develop, to become better, to maybe even change their behavior, right? The other thing is, when a child is speaking to you, an adult, and they're being disrespectful or whatever, you need to correct them and letting them know that not only are you an adult, but that also you are a parent, okay? And so the conversation needs to go where you correct them and you speak to them in love, right? Telling them the truth in love. And you're giving them strategies that's going to help them to become that person you want them to become, right? Instead of getting upset, watch how you speak to me, I'll smack you if you talk to me like that. You know, there's no need for that. That's just a lack of strategy. However, when that disrespect happens, all you got to do is educate them. Let them know and stand firm to it. See, no one understands a double-minded person. Everybody understands a decisive person. When you speak with certainty, when you speak with that solid yes or no, no maybes, probable. For example, don't speak to me like that in public. Well, what you just said was, in public I cannot, but in private I can. In public I cannot, but somewhere else I can. Well, that's not what you want, because what you want is your child or the adult to speak to you like an adult 100% of the time. You don't want an adult to speak to you as a child, and you don't want a child to speak to you as a child, right? So you want to correct that behavior immediately. How do you do that? Well, number one, you let them know who you are, right? You present yourself as that authority and correct them in love, right? Believe me when I tell you that when you do this, even from early on, the behavior begins to change because it's done in love. If you do it in resentment, if you do it in anger, if you do it in a reactive way, then you're going to create wedges in the relationship, right? You're going to create strife. And what happens is that if you do that, there's division being caused. Instead of moving in, you're moving out. You're pushing away from each other instead of moving in towards each other. You see that? And there's the relationship. You want to build the relationship in a way that there's respect when you speak to each other, right? So a child learns that. When a parent is speaking to you from a parenting point of view, and you want to speak as an adult, not as a parent, right? Because you're dealing with adult issues, you need to learn how to bring that parent up to the adult level. You see that? You want to learn to bring that parent, that adult that's speaking and acting and behaving like a parent, to the adult level, and you stay at the adult level. You do not want to drop to the parent level. And when you do that, this is something very powerful that happens, is that when two adults are speaking to each other, right, then there's understanding, there's respect, right? There's common ground. You see, we're going to relate at an adult level. We're not going to relate at a parenting level. And I see a lot of that happen in marriages, right? when couples start talking on a parental issue, they talk to each other from parent to parent. That's like a little bit defeats the purpose of the conversation, right? What's an example of that? I am so tired of telling Johnny that he just won't listen to me. See, that's a parent complaining like a child to another adult as a parent. How does that conversation go? Well, don't tell me about it. I'm frustrated too, right? Don't tell me about it. I'm upset too. Well, who you telling? I know that. I'm tired of it too, right? You ever been there? And so instead of having an adult conversation, you end up having a parent-to-parent conversation. Purpose defeated, right? Purpose wasted. Instead, what you want to do is bring that adult to the adult level. Take him out of parenting mode and bring him to adult level. So what does that look like? Let me give you an example, right? So this doesn't happen, but let's say it did. Imagine my wife came to me and she says, you need to talk to the kids. I'm just tired of telling them they don't listen to me, and you know what? You deal with it. Whoa. She just did two things. One, acted like a child. They complain, they whine, right? And they dump. They dump. And the other thing she did would be, she came across as a mom, as a parent. Now, while the intention is good and the intention is well and solid, the approach is faulty. The approach is not proper. So therefore, you're not going to get what you're looking for. Does that make sense? So what do? Let me give you what you do. Let me give you the example. You already know that I want to have that conversation as an adult. she wants to have that conversation as an adult. So I will say, honey, endearing word because we want to talk in love, right? Let's have a seat for a minute. Take a deep breath, let's have a seat. If she's not ready, you give her that space because I want to stay as an adult. I'm not going to take offense to that and be like, well, don't you want the answer? I need to speak to you right now, blah, blah, blah. That's not what you do. What you do is, okay, take your time, respect the space, right? But I'm going to stay as an adult. That's the key. That you stay as an adult. Now, in the time, she regroups, she took that deep breath, later comes back, whether a day later or 2 days later, but we're going to have that talk. We have that talk. And I'm going to say, honey, I understand this. So I validate the feeling. All right? Very important to validate each other's feelings. Okay? I stay as an adult. I validate the feeling. So I'm going to write it here. Stay as an adult. Validate the feeling. Right? And then the second thing is you bring them to the level of an adult conversation. So what does that look like? This is what it looks like. Honey, I know that you're feeling frustrated with the kids and they don't listen to you at all. I say it back to her so that she can listen to herself talking to me. Most times what the person will do is that they will be, oh man, I sound like an nagging person. I sound like a whiner. I sound like I just dumped, I'm so sorry. No, it's okay. Honey, it's okay. I love you. I'm still an adult, right? I bring the conversation right up to the adult level. Why is that important? Because adults deal in adult level. So you feel fulfilled, you feel understood, you feel validated, and now you feel intact to be able to share what it is, the issue. So now once I do that, I ask questions like, tell me, I want to help you. I want to be of service to you. You see the difference? I want to see how I can be of service to you. I want to see how I can help the situation so that you can feel awesome about it or whatever the case may be. So once I do that, I ask questions, tell me, what is it that specifically bothers you? All right, so here's what's happening. And you come up with the list and you take notes. Now, I do this. I actually take my notes, right? My wife does this, okay? She also takes notes. Why? Because you don't want to talk out of remembering. You don't want to talk about, I think I'm listening. No. You want to be an active listener. You want to be on point. And you want to take all the facts, right? And put the feelings to the side after you validate them. And you deal with the facts. That's how adults do things, right? And so now, once I do that, we come up with solutions, right? Solutions. You see that? Giving you a powerful strategy. You use this. Oh my goodness. Your communication with your husband, with your business partner, with your children, with your staff, with your boss, with yourself, is going to be amazing. You never, ever, ever want to just vent out. Now, you don't want to fix people either. People are strong enough. People are smart enough. Now, they know what they need to do. All I'm doing is creating awareness, and then let's come up together with solutions to this issue or this situation. So here's what we do, right? An example of that. Well, my son doesn't listen to me, and every time I tell him I'm just frustrated, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I go through all those steps, and I'm now listening back. What exactly is it that is happening that they're not listening to you? Well, every time I tell them, so is it really every time, or is it that time, right? Because every time means all the time. And it's really impossible that every time, remember, every time is the language of a child, right? It's not the language of an adult. Because it doesn't happen every time. It just happens those times. And those times are not the only times that you speak to your child. Does that make sense? Or to a person, or to an adult, right? So when you say every time, you remember that you're going into the child mode. You want to stay as an adult. So you take note of that and you say, okay, let's come up with some solutions. What are some of the things that you feel are going to help the situation? One, I can intervene for you. We can have a meeting. The three of us can get together and talk it out and see what it is. Or it can be, I just need you to tell me, how is it that this person speaks to you? It could be that you need to be influencing. You need to develop your level of influence. You need to raise your influence bar so that when you speak, right, they will listen. Also, could be that you need to be a role model. Sometimes kids don't want to listen to somebody who's not being the model. Then you have no influence, right? Especially adolescent kids, right? They have all their models outside of the home. How do you bring them back in so that you can have a healthy conversation?